Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Please Put Them On Takamine-san, Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So it starts off with, obviously, there's an assignment that's supposed to be turned in before their summer break, but Koshi's kind of like farther behind on it, and Takamine is like, well, you will have to do remedial classes, and it's like, if you fail, your grades are already kind of but it'll be even more looking like ducks because they all go from 3s to 2s. If you don't, because even if you do the assignment and other things don't hit well, you still won't be an absolute failure, but it'll affect your grades. So she's like, fine, I'll like help you out and stuff like that. But Koshi's like, no, I'll do it myself, because he's like, I'll have enough time to work on it during class and just kind of make up for any stuff I'm falling behind on and try not to fall, land in remedial class. Which she's kind of like, oh, I see. After that race situation, was that probably episode? I think it was episode 3. I don't think that was last episode. I think that was episode before last. Maybe it was 3. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was episode. And she's like, oh, because of that, you feel more accomplished, and now that's inspired you to like try really hard and put in the effort. Which she's like, oh, okay. And for her, her parallel to that was being like, oh man, I've kind of tamed you in a little bit of a way. But what was really interesting though, and once again, little tidbits we're learning, it seems like on average, Takane like rewinds time about 10 times a day. Not always, but it seems like that typically ends up being the average. And so that's something running through Koshi's mind the entire time. It's like, well, anytime she ends up rewinding, I'm going to constantly have to be resetting, and that's going to lose me more and more time. In fact, I would almost assume that would benefit you. But to be fair, it's like, well, it really kind of wouldn't. It would just undo everything that you've done, and you will kind of end up returning to the time frame you're at right now when she undid time. It's just, once again, you still end up where you kind of were, relatively speaking. So the work would be undone, but depending on where she rewinds things in the day, so you'd have to kind of restart it. And he kind of silver lines it later on, but that was kind of a concern of his. She goes to the chalkboard, you're like, well, something's going to get messed up, and it does, because like the teacher bumps into her and she's ready, she's got the quick draw, she's ready to do it, but then she's like, nope, and she just does something in Latin, and it's like, oh man, that's really impressive. Which even Koshi's like, oh, she didn't rewind time. It's like, maybe she calculated for the teacher bumping into her. No, she didn't. But then like things keep happening throughout the day. Oh, this friend, she got told this friend a gift to get her boyfriend for like his birthday or something. It's like a watch, but it's like, oh, just when she got the watch, a new brand came out. So she's ready to rewind time again, but she didn't. And it happens over and over again throughout the day. And, she's ready to do it, but she stops herself. But there starts being this discomfort around her, which we now learn that apparently we don't really know what it is. Like the look on her face kind of feels like it's kind of almost like a sexual buildup almost. It's going to be a weird parallel to make, but like the whole thing of like, well, dudes have to like bust a nut every once in a while because like it's medically good for you to do it, like at least every once in a while. So maybe it's kind of a thing of like, yeah, like maybe it's kind of built off of sexual energy. It's weird to say, but maybe that's how that works. But basically, like when she doesn't kind of release every once in a while, like using her ability, it builds up and it kind of has like a quote unquote toxic effect on herself, but it might just be like a buildup of sexual energy that she basically has to release to use the Eternal Virgin Road. Or is it Virgin Eternal Road? I think it's Eternal Virgin Road. But she kept herself from using it. From the beginning, I was like, is she not doing it for Koshi's sake? And he eventually picks up on, oh, she was trying not to screw up my momentum and like the motivations I had built up, because I would kind of lose like momentum and motivation if I kept having to restart over and over again. But now it's having a negative effect on her. So he's telling her like, no, just go ahead and rewind time. She's like, no, I'm choosing not to. It's not that big of a deal. I'm perfectly fine. But he recognizes what she's doing. So it's like, no, go ahead and do it. Like, I know you would want to anyway, but she's like, no, I made the choice on my own. So fine. But it's like, okay, if you want me to rewind time so badly, you have to take off my underwear. And he's like, wait, really? She's like, yeah, because I'm not the one who wants to rewind time. Obviously you do. But he's like, okay, you're being very stubborn. But ultimately decides to do it because he recognizes, like, right, she's putting herself in a very uncomfortable position. She's going against what she wants to do because for my sake. So at the very least, I should do this for her. But she's like, no, all that work would be undone. But he's like, no, like even if it does, that just means I'll do it over again and I'll do it that much more faster. But I owe it to you because you were doing and going through so much for my sake. So. But also that adds another interesting development. Obviously, it doesn't matter if she takes her underwear off. If someone does, it activates her ability. So it's not the notion of her taking them off. Anyone taking off anything on her activates the ability, which is kind of interesting side note to think about. But yeah, he ends up pulls off her underwear, and time rewinds. But the thing she undid was making it his choice to go back in time. So I'm assuming she went back in time and kind of made it so like, nope, I got rid of it, so you're not making that choice. I made the choice instead. And it's like, does that really matter? The semantics of it? And it kind of does, because she's kind of controlling in that she wants to be the one that, also she feels a little bashful, because I think it kind of meant something for her, for him to be the one doing it. But also it's like, no, like everyone's going to use the ability. What was the exact wording? She was like, it's humiliating if I make it so that you made me use my ability rather than me making that decision. But she's just semantics of it all. So it's like, fine. She said like there was some other stuff coming up and you probably didn't prepare for it. Like he's like, no, I'm aware. She's like, fine, I will help you study. And it's like, okay. She was just looking for an excuse to make this happen. So invites him over to her house, which she doesn't acknowledge. Like, oh yeah, my mom and dad are not going to be home until like tomorrow because they're on a business trip. So they're there alone and they're studying, but he's getting stuff wrong. So she's rewinding time twice because she's like, hey, I taught you this stuff. Get it right the first time perfectly. But he keeps screwing up because I'm sure he's nervous. Probably the first time he's ever been inside a girl's room. So he's nervous in that capacity, in that regard. But also now knowing like, crap, she's not wearing anything because she took off both her underwear and her bra and she hasn't put anything else on in this time frame. Then also it's like, oh yeah, like there was a whole conversation of, she's like, I have a pet. He's like, oh, you have a pet? She's like, oh yeah, I have Kuro and then I have Koshi. He's like, wait, you're counting me as your pet? But it's like, oh yeah, like I'd love to have a cat. Like I can't have one at home. I think he was saying like his parents might be allergic, or I think his parents or something are allergic, so he can't have one at home. I think it was specifically maybe his mom. So she's like, all right, I'll bring the cat in because she's like, won't it be a distraction or whatever? But he's like, no, it'd be fine. Help relax me. But she's like, yeah, he's busy. So she puts on the cat ears and plays the cat. And it's just like, that's driving him crazier and crazier. And he's just like, I'm relaxed. You can stop that now. And she's kind of shocked, but she's like, okay. But then she starts playing into it more because she's like, oh, I'm really enjoying it. It's like, oh God, like throwing him into the biggest curveball and just kind of like, yeah, making it that much harder to concentrate. Ultimately, he finally finishes the studying and questions and stuff. It was about to leave, but it's raining. And she's like, well, I guess since it's raining, there was a forecast, which she never told him ahead of time. It does imply like, well, you knew stuff ahead of time to be like, oh yeah, didn't you watch the forecast? It said there was going to be rain. Oh, well, it's heavy. I guess you're just going to have to stay tonight. It's like, oh, I'll cook dinner for you and you can shower here too. So, he's like, yeah, I could sleep in the hallway and stuff like that. But she's like, no, it's not that big of a deal. But then she's like, okay, so... oh, also, here's Kuro, my cat, and she's waiting because she's trying to put him in a position to see if he remembers anything. And he's like, oh my God. And he's like, oh my God, this cat's so cute. And then like she kind of has a mental break where she's just like, I got excited for a second because I thought you remembered, but you didn't. And she's just so annoyed. So the entire time she's trying, like, rather than being upfront and forcing, like she's trying to be like, no, I don't want to force you to remember. I want you to remember on your own. Once again, she's a perfectionist and a control freak. She wants things to go the way she wants to. And it's so interesting because she's always so in control of him in the regards of, yes, she's very flirty and always in control and knows exactly what she's doing. But then moments like this where she's visibly frustrated that it's like, why are you so stupid, Koshi? Why are you so like, why can't you get this, like what I'm trying to lay down? Because she's like, okay, tell me about your good memories from elementary school. He's like, oh yeah, I went to a friend's house and played video games, multiplayer. She's like, whoa, that's your best memory? What about anything else? And every time he brought up something, she's like, no, that's stupid. No, no, it shoots down everything. And he's just like, I don't, he's like, am I a boring person? He's like, now you're making me recognize, like, oh, I didn't realize how much of a boring person I was until you pointed that out now. And then to the point, he was like, hey, can I go take a shower? And she's like, okay, hold up. And then immediately comes out of the bathroom. Oh, I used all the towels and all the soap, so you can't shower now. I'm like, what the hell? Once again, it's something adorable about the fact is that she wants him to remember, but rather than like being upfront about it, she's being very like coy, because it's the principle of the matter of it defeats the purpose if I have to make you remember, because if I make you remember, then you remember, it takes away some of the whole thing. Like if you remember on your own, it makes me feel better because it's like, oh, it did mean something to you. But it's like the more and more you don't remember, the more it doesn't stand out to you, because obviously that time frame meant a lot to her. That is all these years later, and she still holds on to it very dearly, and she feels like he doesn't, and it's like that's a little frustrating. And ultimately, Koshi points it out to her. He's like, actually, I remember this girl and I used to go out all the time to take care of like these cats. Anytime I show up with my umbrella, she was already there with food and towels for the cats. And it's like Koshi. She's like, well, why did it take you so long to remember that? And he's like, well, I don't look back on it fully as happy memories, because she confessed to me at one point in time, but I didn't know what to say to her. And because of that, like, she stopped coming and the cat disappeared. So I didn't even catch her name. So I don't even know who she is. So obviously being completely oblivious that the person in front of him is that same little girl. And it's like, I forgot what it was exactly that she said. She was like, what if I told you, like, what if you saw that girl again? Like, what would you, like, what if she was in front of you? And then Koshi's like, oh my God, Takane, do you know her or something? And it's just like, and she's just flabbergasted. She literally grabs her head like, you idiot. It's like, yes, he's your stereotypical, completely oblivious protagonist, obviously. That's your I'm sure it pops up in like Sen and stuff too, but obviously it's very prominent in I'm sure it probably pops up in like shoujo stuff as well, but it's very, very shonen romance protagonist situation. But it's like, but for her at the very least, it's like, okay, it's annoying that you didn't realize it's me, but at the very least, I can at least be happy with the fact is you finally remember. So there's a silver lining to that. But then we also find out she's scared of thunder and she's trying to pretend like she's okay. Like, even though her towel dropped and everything, once again, she's a bit of a control freak, being like, no, I'm perfectly fine. You think I'm talking like I'm very flustered or whatever? And then she jumps on Koshi when the lightning strikes again, thunder strikes again, and Koshi's now running through his head like, was everything she did up to this day because she knew that was going to be a thunderstorm and she does not like being in the house alone? So it was an excuse to do all the stuff she was going to do, but also keep him in the house at the same time. I don't know if that was fully her plan. She did say like, oh, like she knew that the weather was going to be bad, and it was like she, keeps notice of stuff like that. So she could have let Koshi go earlier and let him know earlier before it started raining that that's what was going to happen. But it does seem orchestrated. But like, did she plan that far in advance? She is who she is, and she is very coy, and she is very much in that vein. Once again, the person who does stuff to get what she wants in the end. So she's not above like doing whatever it takes to manipulate the situation to get what she wants. And even Koshi having like future reference, being like, oh, at that time I was so oblivious to the fact is that Takane was I forgot what the exact phrasing he was like, I was completely like oblivious to a lot of signs that were in front of me, and it's like, yeah, you super were. And so for her, she's scared of the thunder and just being like, right, I should rewind and make you forget all of this. But Koshi's like, yeah, but even if you rewind this situation, I'll still have the memory of it. She's like, then you'll have to like completely scrub the memory by yourself. But then for her, she's still holding on to him and kind of smile, because it's like, oh, it's kind of nice and comforting. And once again, it's like, I guess she's all, because it's like she's probably always kept an eye on Koshi, and it's just like as time went on, he just, because it, like he kind of blocked that memory because he felt bad about how things went down between her and him like when they were kids, and so he never pieced it together that the president he was like he admired and stuff. Well, the person he now admires is like the school president, the student council president. It's the same girl from back then. Part of me also wonders, is that also why she's like trying to be so perfect too? it's like on some level, is that something related to him? I don't know if, like I said, I don't know if that's just a personal thing or whether she felt like I wasn't good enough back then, but if I rise to this status, I'll be so great that maybe he'll take notice of me. Because we didn't get the conversation, so we don't know what he said, but it might not have been an outwardly rejection. He even said, like, I just didn't respond. So it did seem like he said something, but afterwards she ran away. And so, like I said, that probably was before she got her powers. Because we don't know what grade that was. We know it was like in elementary school, but it had to be like, I'm assuming that's before she got her powers. Because once again, she doesn't get her powers until the 5th grade. So, yeah, I'm curious to see where things kind of go on that front as she continues to lay it on pretty thick, but Koshi's pretty oblivious, even though she's making it obvious, and even though she doesn't think she's being obvious, because we've seen the mask slip time and time again, as she kind of shows what's really there when Koshi does something that kind of takes her breath away, or just kind of makes her go like, the little things that remind her of like why she likes him in the first place, and just reminds her of like, oh, the kind person he's always been type of situation. So some very, very fascinating set of circumstances in another crazy episode. It's going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.